I'm currently taking a coding course on a platform called Replit. It's a basic coding course with 100 different days of coding, which is really nice. It's a daily thing that I do. On this course, you can see how many people are enrolled and how many people are on every single day. So on day one, you can see that there are 144,000 people who have opened day one of the course. On the current day that I am, day 71, there were 3,200 people. That's a tremendous drop off. And what I think is interesting about it is it's a free course. You didn't have to sign up. You didn't get paid to sign up. And they just recently added a diploma for completing the course, which means that roughly 139,000 people lack grit or motivation to continue. Grit is something that I practiced a lot over the years and is something that I think is really important to my own and other people's success. I encourage you to practice it. I want to share a couple of ways that I have done it in the past and currently am. This is Caspian with a riff on grit. I've never been a fan of Mr. Beast at all. I've watched a couple of videos. He doesn't scratch any of my itches at all. But he is arguably the greatest entertainer of all time. He is definitely the biggest YouTuber at the moment. He is one of the most famous people in the world. If you ask people if they know who Mr. Beast is, they probably do, especially if they're under, say, 45. I saw an interview with him recently, and he shared a thought that he had on how to become better at YouTube. What he said was, I'm not going for 10,000 hours, I'm going for 10,000 days, which is roughly 30 years. He's been doing YouTube for 10, 15 years now, which means he's halfway. That kind of grit and determination is gonna pay off in the long term, and it already has. He is the biggest, the greatest. Finding the motivation to do that can be hard. There are a couple of theories on how you do it, but ultimately I think it's finding what you love. Finding something that you love to do and something that you can do for 10,000 days straight. Now, I know that there aren't a lot of things that I would want to do for 10,000 days, especially not commercial. I couldn't see myself at a single job for 10,000 days, much less doing the same thing for 10,000 days. But there are a couple of things that I could see myself doing for 10,000 hours, and I think starting with that, even some things that I could do for a month, starting at a lower threshold, I think is very useful to finding whatever it is you can do or want to do for 10,000 days. Finding that passion, that motivation will make it easier. Not easy, easier for you to find grit. To power through when the going gets tough. Power through when something is hard, when it sucks. Because it is going to suck. You're going to wake up and feel like not doing it. And you need to find something that you know that you'll be able to do either way. Regardless if it's raining or it's sunny. Regardless if you find external motivation from it, or even if you get accolades from doing it. I recently had a conversation with a friend about holding on to streaks, doing something over and over again, building habits, if you will. And we together came up with an analogy, which is I have this bucket, right? I can pour water into it. The goal for me to building a sustainable habit is finding a bucket where I can be content with just putting in a drop. And that drop is doing it a little bit every single day or every single week or every single month, whatever it is. For me, that means setting a very low boundary for my worst performance. When I started going out for runs, my drop in the bucket was getting out the door. That was the lowest threshold that I could come up with. And it worked. Now I run. Now I long for the run. The important part for me is not putting in the drop. It's choosing the bucket and choosing that bottom line, the lowest threshold that I want to do something. It's not that hard keeping streaks when I've chosen the right one. Running was obviously, for me, the right one right now. There are a number of theories. One that I've found very useful is from Gretchen Rubin, who has the 4 tendencies model. Basically, they are the upholder, the questioner, the rebel, and there's one more. I can't remember. Either way, for the upholder and for the questioner, it's going to be really easy to hold a streak, to hold on to a habit. Especially for the upholder. For the questioner, it's going to be really easy if it's well-founded within themselves, or if someone else has described to them why it's important and they agree. For the rebel, it's going to be a lot harder, and you're going to have to work around that. Knowing yourself, knowing how you build habits, knowing when you're going to feel like it sucks, will help you tremendously in building a habit, finding grit, and again, going through the hard times. I think that's one of the models. As I said, finding something you're really passionate about is obviously an easy way to do it, because it doesn't matter if you're a rebel or an upholder or a questioner. If you're very passionate about something, you're going to want to do it. You're going to need to do it, even though it's really hard, even though it sucks. But there are other ways to trick yourself. I've come up with a bunch of mental models for myself. I know people who've adapted them and they've worked fine because they're similar to me in that sense. I have also come across a bunch of mental models that I've shared with people that just doesn't work. I know a lot of people who read Atomic Habits and just didn't work for them, doing the 1% or applying these mental models into their daily life, because it wasn't them. It wasn't theirs. Knowing yourself, getting to know yourself, experimenting with different ways of applying these things. But also finding, again, what you want to spend 10,000 days with is crucial in the pursuit of grit. If you want to practice your grit, something that I've found very helpful is doing it either way. Plain and simple as that. You just do it. And that's going to be really easy on the easy days. It's going to be very hard on the hard days. I've set myself challenges of doing vlogs, writing every single day, working out every single day, stretching, a bunch of different things. And when it's hard, it's really hard. But if you've made the decision on beforehand, it's going to be a lot easier. One last one on the topic of that. Especially when you're building habits, there's a quote that I really love. I can't remember who it's from. I've heard it on the Tim Ferriss podcast, which is, don't make 1,000 decisions when one will do. What that means is is when you can make one decision that cancels out or takes care of 1,000 decisions for you, you have a good decision. But you need to make that one decision when you're in a good place and when you've really decided that you've settled, you've have a good blood sugar level, you've pondered it for a bit. Maybe you don't make these decisions on a whim. I've tried, it doesn't work. Making that one decision will make it a lot easier with the grit, because when you arrive at the point where you can make another decision or make that decision and diverge from it, you know that you've already made the decision. You already have an agreement with yourself. Again, this works for me. From the 4 tendencies, I'm a questioner or an upholder. I have an easy time following streaks. But it's something that I've shared a bunch of times, and it's been useful for friends and family. That is it for this time. Thank you so much for listening. I've tried a bit of a new format this week. If you came here from a LinkedIn post or a Facebook post or an Instagram post, please just let me know if you like this format with the short videos. If not, please tell me. As always, there will be show notes, links to the Gretchen Rubin stuff, to the quote, all of that. Yeah, till next time. Take care.